Hey, this is Pradeep with Sensatura. Now that we are about a month into summer, at least that's where a lot of viewers of the channel live, it's the time when citrus fragrances, colognes, aquatics can start to get a bit monotonous. Obviously, if you just wear anything, irrespective of the season, that's great as well. I try not to stick to a particular style during summer either, but those fresh fragrances need some love too. Especially if you have a big collection, then sometimes they don't get worn at all. Obviously, there are some great fresh fragrances. This year, I've been wearing a lot of Azimor les Oranges from Parfums, Chanel Paris Deauville, Arancia Rosa, and so forth. Very good fragrances, typical of summer. Having said that, it's always good to change things up and look for something different. So we are looking at some non-citrus summer fragrances, or just fragrances. Plus, I will try to highlight the categories and give some alternatives as well. 2 pointers before we get into the list. These fragrances are still fresh. So if we are talking about going against the general norm, for instance, wearing an incense or amber for summer, then I made a separate video called Unconventional Fragrances for Summer last year. I will link that in the description. Second, if there are any passionate chemists or amateur perfumers watching this and typing, hey brother, most perfumes still have citrus materials like citral or limonene, so there is still citrus in there. Well, I can totally understand. It's just that I'm not a perfumer. I'm sure most people watching this are not perfumers either. So we are looking at it more from the wearing experience on whatever notes or other information is available out there about the fragrance. With all that being said, I have 15 fragrances here, so let's get started in no particular order. First is Aphélie by Trudon from 2021 and composed by Antoine Lee. I am using this to represent the berried, fruity fragrance style, notably blackcurrant. There are many fragrances doing all sorts of fruity notes these days. What I find difficult with most of those is the sweetness, sometimes the synthetic smell, and the lean toward the edible side of things. Something like blackcurrant tends to have this bitterness, tartness, while still being fresh and fruity. In this fragrance, it's complemented by ivy, really bringing out that verdant, somewhat aquatic, watery facet. That's what makes it perfect for the heat. Lots of musks, sandalwood, helping to give more body, making it more wearable as a scent. Very well done by Antoine Lee. Some others which would fill this bracket are L'Ombre dans l'eau from Diptyque, Synthetic Jungle from Frederic Malle, Enchanted Forest from the Vagabond Prince, and finally Mal Aimé from Parfums. So that's the first category. Next is probably my current favorite summer-friendly note, Geranium. It's extracted from the leaves rather than the flowers. It has this fresh, green, rosy, minty scent. Can be cool, menthol-like. It is used in a lot of rose fragrances as well for the rosy facet. The obvious one in this category would be Geranium pour Monsieur. Love that fragrance. Done a full review. A top 5 Malle for me. Easily my favorite incorporation of geranium in a fragrance. But I've talked about that one quite a bit. So instead, I thought I would showcase this underrated Diptyque, Geranium Odorata from 2014. Equipage Geranium from Hermès, Rose Geranium from Florist London, and Vetiver Geranium from Creed are some of the other geranium-focused fragrances that are worth checking out. Like we said, even some rose fragrances are heavily dependent on geranium. Fille de Berlin from Serge Lutens, or Rosé Cuillère from Frederic Malle, or a few others to experience geranium. It is also a main component in fougère, barbershop style of fragrances. Anyway, this Diptyque is one which features geranium as the central note, so that fresh, spicy, rosy, minty, aromatic scent is what you get for the most part. Additionally, there are woody notes here to compensate for the freshness. This also has that dry cedarwood transition, reminiscent of many other fragrances from the brand. It just works perfect in the heat. At number 3 is a note we just talked about in connection, mint. It can be cool, crisp, clean, invigorating in the heat. And this one does it rather well. From 2006, Menthe Fresh from Healy. Some others would be Geranium pour Monsieur again, You or Someone Like You from État Libre d'Orange, Green from Comme des Garçons, and Herba Fresca from Guerlain. One thing about mint is that your affinity for the scent is going to depend on where you are on the toothpaste spectrum of smell. I mostly don't get that from a lot of mint-based fragrances. In fact, it is one of my favorite herbal notes. But some are very sensitive to it and just can't unsmell it. So better do the necessary testing beforehand, ideally with different fragrances. Maybe you can find one which you enjoy. This one could be a start. It's sharp, cool, lively, very fresh and musky. There is some herbal, peppermint, green tea-like facets. Lots of clean musks as it dries down. It's a classy, fresh, straightforward take on mint. Continuing the herbal theme, next one is Clary Sage. This is the latest from Serge Lutens called Le Perce by Christopher Sheldrake. There may be not as many fragrances using sage as the central note. It is generally used in aromatic fougere fragrances, along with lavender, rosemary, and other herbal notes. The most popular one, using sage as the central note, is probably the H24 line, which took a new direction in the designer area. Anyway, this one is a spicy, cool, breezy, musky scent with the aromatic clary sage. It is simple, but they have somehow made this coolness to be enveloping, which is usually the area of warm fragrances. Certainly one of the more standout releases from Serge Lutens in recent times. Next, we are going to woody scents for the heat. Yes, woody scents can be dense, especially when paired with things like resins, amber, and so forth. They tend to be for colder weather most of the time. But here we are talking about fresh, solar, soft woody scents. One of the best that I have come across in this style is Santal Massoïa from the Hermès collection, composed by Jean-Claude Ellena. It has this soft, creamy, lotion-like side to it, probably a fig note in there, somewhat milky, coconutty, and delicate. It is not overly sweet or decadent. Even the woodiness from the sandalwood, and I have confirmed with trusted sources that there is some real Caledonian sandalwood in there, along with the sweet, almost bready Massoïa, is just so nicely done. Somewhat of a tropical vibe in there as well. And this kind of fig note is as tropical as I can go. Philostychus from Diptyque, Ashoka from Nila Vermeer, Premier Figuier from L'Artisan, Sandal La Cologne from Etro, and Lorenzo Villoresi are some others worth trying. Of course, apart from all that, many sorts of fruity scents are available, from pineapple, mango, to guava, passion fruit. Everything has been done. But so far, only a select few have worked for me as a fragrance. Next, we are going to the most trendy, overdone style of fragrances in the last 5 years. Clean, minimalist musk. This fragrance from Chanel, though, is underappreciated. From 2007, released as part of the Lace Exclusives, number 18, composed by Jacques Polge and Christopher Sheldrake. Yes, this clean, musky, minimalist aesthetic sort of skin scents are everywhere. Not only many houses are jumping on the bandwagon, but entire new brands have been launched dedicated to this particular style of fragrances. A lot of them can be uninspiring, overpriced, borderline boring. Still, if you look around, you can find some good ones. Dante Bras, 1957, Fleur de Peau, or some that I like. For the list though, we are going almost 20 years back to number 18. This tackles musk by using ambrette. It can have this musky, powdery smell. Here it is used in combination with iris and rose, which has been done over and over again. What keeps this interesting is that ambrette maintains the medicinal, vegetal, strange attributes. A little odd and unhinged, it has this crystalline coolness accentuated by some fruity, champagne-like facets with some sweaty skin thrown in for good measure. That abstract character and implied sensuality is what makes this stand out for me. Let's look at a couple of fresh iris fragrances next. First is Iris Shot from Olfactive Studios, composed by Dominique Ropion. This is a distinctive iris fragrance in that it fully leans into the rhizome carroty facets. It's not earthy or muggy, fairly fresh. The iris here feels rich and substantial with that unmistakably buttery, oily texture rising to the surface. Toasty, coconutty undertones from almond add depth. It evolves into this creamy, lotion-like, carrot with cream-like smell, some sweetness that rounds everything out. It's a fresh, modern, uplifting, radiant interpretation of iris. After that is Eau de Gentiane Blanche from Hermès, composed once again by Jean-Claude Elena. This fragrance definitely nods to Eau d'Orange Vert from the same lineup, notably because of that same earthy petrichor-like scent. But this isn't your typical summer cologne by any stretch. It has this bittersweet, dry, rooty, slightly waxy, herbal aroma with just a hint of green bell pepper. When paired with powdery iris, the result is truly stunning. There's a moody, misty atmosphere, almost melancholic. Despite being a cologne, the white musks give it that expansive presence. I haven't come across many colognes in this kind of dry, earthy style, particularly one that features iris prominently. Their cologne collection in general is quite strong, especially for the price. They have some fairly unique offerings with rhubarb, narcissus, and so forth. Also, the Jardin line that has creations like Sur le Toit, which has a tasteful apple note. Definitely some of the best fresh fragrance collections out there. Next is a fragrance that features juniper berries. They have this sharp, crystalline, aromatic freshness, which is just perfect for the heat. The one I have here is called Mon Vetiver from Essential Parfums, composed by Bruno Jovanovic. Yes, it has vetiver in the name, but it's not a dominant note here. For me, it's the juniper that makes the fragrance. It's crisp, fresh, clean, got this gin and tonic side to it. There is some clean patchouli and woody vetiver to help the structure of the fragrance, making it complete. Lots of clean white musks in there as well. It's not complicated, just the perfect linen shirt kind of fragrance. It's one of the better creations from this brand, especially for the price. Others to try are Juniper Sling from Penhaligon's, Escale en Haiti from Les Indémodables, and the ever so popular Terre d'Hermès Eau Givrée. The other category to look at is florals. We will start by an inimitable creation which transcends being just a floral. From 2000, this is Passant from Frederic Malle, created by Olivia Jacobetti. It's a very natural smelling, introspective, aqueous scent with lilac. The way it blends with airy, watery nuances creates an ephemeral mood that's just utterly captivating. This isn't a straightforward soliflor. It truly evokes the feeling of lilacs in bloom on a sunny spring morning. The scent is fresh, aquatic, and ethereal, hints of cucumber, petitgrain, and this unique wheat accord that evokes the sensation of being warm. What I love about this is how intangible it feels. Delicate, distant, elusive, yet at the same time, it wears intimate, and there's even a subtle hint of melancholy. It's not going to be one for big perfume lovers because it's very soft, as the name would imply. It's purely a magical creation by one of today's most underappreciated perfumers. Next, let's do a fragrance that I have talked about a few times recently. It was in my most worn fragrances of the year so far list. This is Lalique Hommage à l'Homme, composed by Christine Nagel and Mathilde Bijoy. This is a distinctive violet-focused fragrance. It has this cool, spicy, ozonic blend of violet and saffron, underpinned by a lot of musks and tonka. The tonka here is not sweet, it's more of the dry coumarin style of tonka, with some tobacco, suede-like hints. It is a sleek, angular, somewhat metallic, slightly sweet take on violet. Nowhere near powdery as full-on, floral, iris, rose, violet fragrances. It's sort of like a combination of Dior's Fahrenheit and Prada's Infusion d'Iris. It's perfect for the office. I worn it a lot myself at work. The only difficulty is that it seems to have been discontinued recently, So the stocks online are disappearing more and more every time I check. Thankfully, I was able to get another 50 ml. I really hope it comes back. After that is another Hermès obsession of mine recently. This is Osmanthe Yunnan. You could sort of say this is a fresh, floral tea fragrance based on the name, but there is much more going on. It starts off with this peachy, apricot-y fruitiness. The floral, fuzzy osmanthus comes in along with this fresh, green Yunnan tea. It's a beautifully translucent scent. When Jean-Claude Ellena says it's like a haiku or inspired by Rothko paintings, you can clearly see why with a fragrance like this. There is even a soft, suede-like inflection. Nothing is sort of directing you. They all feel like suggestions. Perfect for a laid-back summer morning. There is some additional sweetness, some spicy nuances, maybe even a hint of sap, a tannic, earthy undercurrent as it dries down. Just stunning. It's probably the most complex creation from this lineup. It has low-key inspired a lot of fragrances that tackled osmanthus since its release. Such a refined, ode to nature kind of scent. Continuing the floral theme, let's do a jasmine next. Now I have mentioned before how I struggle with jasmine fragrances. Not that I don't like the flowers themselves, but just in fragrance. I have been around jasmine in its original form all my life, so it's difficult for me to come to terms with smelling them from a bottle pretty much, especially if we are talking soliflores. But Madagascan jasmine is the closest I have come to appreciating it. It's from an Australian brand called Grandiflora, composed by Michel Rudnitska. Not sure what's happening with him. He's credited for like less than 10 fragrances in his life. He made the masterful Noir Épice, which is a favorite of mine. At least he made this one, I guess. Radiant, waxy, green, floral. Really a headspace sort of interpretation of a jasmine. What takes it to the next level is this tropical fruitiness with mango and pineapple and a hint of smoky ashtray. It also keeps from getting too endolic or heady, which helps. A hint of sweetness, adding an element of fun. Just a stunning rendition of jasmine, fit for summer evenings. Next, let's look at a couple of avant-garde releases. These are a bit of an acquired taste, let's say. First is Grand Chalet from Astier de Villatte, composed by Françoise Caron. This is a floral take on a cologne with not much citruses. It's all about the combination of waxy, dry, powdery mimosa and this warm, honeyed, green, pollen-like linden blossom. Overall, it's a musky, powdery, solar, classic floral kind of scent, which is not for everyone, but I enjoy it. Alternatively, you can try Un bel amour d'été from Parfums d'Empire, which is another sunny, gardenia, tuberose concoction. And the last one is vegetal fragrances. The one I have here is Venise from Diptyque, released as part of their limited edition Grand Tour collection, composed by Cécile Maton. This seems to be coming back in stock, not totally sure. In terms of scent, as the glass color implies, it's a full-on green, vegetal, herbal scent. There's garden tomato leaf with the berried, sweet, earthy smell. There's some sappy galbanum. It's aromatic as well from basil. Additionally, there's a green, watery facet coming from the bell pepper. The natural vegetal spiciness supported by earthy vetiver. At times it feels like a virgin Bloody Mary. Some have even mentioned fresh gourmet tomato sauce. It's perfect that they released it only in this size, because I don't think I would wear it often. Not that it's challenging, it's a diptyque after all. If that sounds good, you may appreciate this. Alternatively, you can check out Sicily, a brand that really specializes in this type of scents. Alright, having said all that, that's been my list of non-citrus summer fragrances. And as always, thanks for watching, take care, and ciao.